The Mavs obviously just got past the Jazz
Yeah.
in the first round. They won 2 games without Luca.
Which is
So
crazy.
I don't know what that says about the Jazz, considering that with Luca, they're getting bodied by the Suns. Honestly, like they're struggling
Yeah.
to make it competitive almost.
Hmm.
So what do you
Yeah.
think that says about the Jazz? How are you feeling about this? All these rumors swirling about Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell break up this season. I mean this summer.
It's it's sad to see, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. It just sucks because we've seen this story written. The same thing happened last year, man. The Clippers beat the Jazz with no Kawhi Leonard. And I know that Luka came back and he played, but they lost 2 games without Luka Doncic. If you're the Utah Jazz, that is unacceptable
Yeah.
by all the sense. There should be no reason as to why a generational talent is out and you are losing to Jalen Brunson. Like, well, everything to Jalen Brunson. He is a dog. I love him as a player, and I hope he gets his bag this summer. I know that he will, but from a Utah Jazz perspective, that is just totally unacceptable, and that can't happen. And that's happened on 2 years back to back, and the year before that, they blew a 3-1 lead. So
Yeah.
I think that last year, it should have been their sign to break it up. I know that the grass is always greener and you could always see from a positive standpoint and be like, no, like we just need more time to mesh. We can add a couple more pieces. And it's the same story every single year, man. And I don't know what they can do. If you could choose between the two, who do you think you're taking? Do you want them to ship off Rudy or do you
Um,
want them to ship off Donovan, man? Who do you think they
well,
should go with?
personally, like I think Rudy Gobert can be essentially schemed out of every single game plan. To
Okay.
me, that is a huge liability. I don't even agree with him winning 3 Defensive Player of the Years. I think one, maybe two max was cool. I think Ben Simmons and Draymond Green were both robbed
Very
because
true.
Ben Simmons to me was the best defender in the NBA at the time. He was guarding all 5 positions, and when he went head to head on Rudy, he put 45 on him. Like Rudy Gobert to me can be schemed out of every plan, and we've seen it the last 3 years. A small ball lineup. Like for some reason, the Jazz just cannot. They cannot
They
compete with that,
crumble.
dude. Their like defensive scheme of having 4 perimeter defenders funnel everyone to Rudy at the paint doesn't work when you have 5 shooters on the team.
And I get that, but at the same time, is that all on Rudy? Because when you think about who the Jazz have as defenders,
Yeah.
who's their best defender besides Royce O'Neal?
I mean,
Donovan
yeah, that's
cannot
also
defend.
that's also a major issue, like what you just talked about. Like they got cooked by Jalen Brunson. If your best
That's what I'm
defender
saying.
cannot like they don't have the perimeter defense to run the model of Rudy Gobert protecting the rim, which I think is
Exactly.
it's maybe Quinn Snyder's fault for trying to think that he can. But I think at some point, like, bro, you've gotten cooked by 3 small ball lineups in a row. Like,
Yeah,
you gotta bench Gobert for like I don't know. They also don't have a good backup center. Like, they also have
they
a
don't.
literally Gobert clone with Hassan
They
Whiteside.
got Whiteside,
So
the
it's
same
like they're
thing.
not doing themselves any favors.
No, they're not at all. They haven't changed it up or switched it up at all. I kind of feel bad for Rudy because I know that he is an amazing defender. I just feel like if the Jazz had just 2 solid perimeter defenders, so you wouldn't have to funnel to Rudy because they look to Rudy for everything on the
Yeah,
defensive end. Mike Conley is not doing anything. He used to be a good
he's a
defender back in the
shell.
day. That's what I'm saying. He's
Yeah.
just a shell of what he used to be. He lost a step on defense. Donovan isn't defending a damn thing. And Royce O'Neal is your best defender besides that. And I know for sure that Bogdanovich isn't doing anything either. There was multiple times where those guys are just getting blow
I think
by,
they're
blow
missing Joe
by.
Ingles a lot.
Rudy goes up to defend, kick out corner, open three. Every
Yeah.
single time, man. Like there just has to be. There's like you said, man. It's been 3 seasons of the same story. Like I think it's time to break it up. But so you're saying that you want to ship off Rudy?
Yeah, if I'm the Jazz, I'm keeping Donovan Mitchell because I feel like finding elite guard play is a lot harder than finding elite center play.
Very true.
So I'm keeping Donovan Mitchell. I'm trading Gobert for anything I can get. Maximize like picks, young players, anything. I'm trading him. The Warriors have rumored to be interested in Gobert. What about Jordan Poole? Like it's just little. It's just a fantasy. They're gonna have to give up somebody good to get over a Gobert
They
quality
are.
player. And
They
if
have
you
to.
include Mitchell in all the offseason talk, like, hey, like this is what the package is gonna look like. Who do you think we should go after in free agency? To me, Donovan Mitchell has a bigger voice in attracting free agents to Utah than Rudy Gobert. Like I think
Very
if you
true.
if you trade Donovan Mitchell, I'm looking at a lottery team with the Jazz for like the next 5-6 years. So what do you
I
think?
totally agree with that. And I agree with you on the sense that they should ship off Rudy, but I just feel like if you ship off Rudy, Donovan has lost so many times, and I can see it in his face, and you can see it every single year, man. He's gone through too many potential game winners that just lead to nothing. 3-1 lead against the Nuggets. Mike Conley, three, falls to the ground in just sadness. And you saw the same thing again. Bogdanovich, open three, season ender. And I just think he's getting tired of losing when they've said that they can be contenders. Like they've said that themselves that they want to contend for a championship, and they've consistently been first to second round exits. And I feel like you can ship off Rudy and you can get back young assets and first round picks, whatever it may be. I just don't think that's going to be enough for Donovan Mitchell to want to stay. I feel like he's going to be like, this isn't like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't see the potential in this team, and I don't want to keep losing over and over and over again. He doesn't want to be another Damian Lillard where he's sticking to the grind and he just
Yeah.
wants to stick with his team. I don't see Donovan Mitchell doing something similar to the point where he's so loyal to Utah where he's like, I'll stick it out and I'll wait, like, because these are his prime years, man. And I truly
Yeah.
don't think that he's gonna want to stick it out in Utah. But I could see another side where you could trade Donovan Mitchell because sure, Rudy Gobert is not going to bring in any free agents. I understand that, but you could also get a whole lot more for Donovan
Yeah,
Mitchell
that's
than
true.
what you could get for Rudy Gobert to build around him. And I'm thinking guys that can actually defend. And I think that you could get a similar shot creator like a Donovan Mitchell. Not sure who they could possibly get, but I don't see it, man. I think that they're just kind of setting themselves up for failure. I
Yeah.
don't see this working long term either way.
Yeah, I think they're
Um,
doomed regardless, honestly.
I truly do think because yeah, man, I just don't see a world where Donovan Mitchell wants to stay in Utah and just go through the same things, man. Maybe it's Rudy's fault, maybe it's Quinn Snyder's fault, but they're only in this league for so long and
Yeah.
nothing is guaranteed. So
That
I
makes
don't
that
know,
makes me
man.
think like, it's a possibility that's not being talked about. They
What?
could
Let me
very
hear it.
well lose both of them.
They could, and they
Very
could
well.
be screwed.
We'd be
Do
looking
you
at a
know?
10-win team if they lost both of them.
Yeah. Very true, and they just could just start from practically nothing. And if I'm being honest, I think that's where it's going. I truly do think that that's where it's gonna go, and it sucks to say that because they had the potential, but obviously we've seen their ceiling,
Yeah.
and it's only gotten them so far. And I just hope that they don't run it back. I really
I think
truly
that
hope
like
that.
if they decide to run it back, it is a strictly business standpoint. That's it. They know they're not competitive and they're just trying to sell tickets. That's all it is to me if they run it back again. Like they don't
Yeah,
care about
true.
basketball.
I can see that coming from someone, honestly, like Rudy Gobert, but when you see the pain in Donovan Mitchell's face in those post game interviews, man, he looks depressed. Like, I know he wants to win. He's a winner.
Yeah.
And do you really think that Donovan would stoop down to the point where he was like, yeah, it's just a business, man. I don't care for winning. I'm just going to stick this out. Like, do you think
No,
that he would
I
stoop
think
down to something
I
like
think
that?
he's too competitive. I think there's also going to be frustrations like what are the Jazz doing to upgrade the roster every year? Nothing.
I don't know. They're really
Royce
not
O'Neal
doing
has been the starter like almost 2-3 years in a row, dude. Like like nothing against Royce O'Neal, but like he's not an NBA player to me, dude. He's like a role player, like 10th man off the bench, like Tony Snell, Garrett Temple vibes. Like
I get
Royce
that. I
O'Neal's
feel
already
that.
28. He's not a young player. Like
No, he's not. And I wish that they would dabble more into getting young players so that if worst does come to worst, they can have something to fall back on and be like, all right, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert are out, or at least we have these young assets that we can build around. Something similar. I know that the Warriors aren't going to break up, but the Warriors have done an amazing job at keeping vets and keeping young guys.
yeah.
They got Jonathan Kuminga, they got James Wiseman, Moses Moody, they got all those guys that for when this dynasty of Steph, Clay, and Dre is over, they have something that they can fall back on, or something to use as trade assets to make their team better. Also, guys like Jordan Poole, who is
Yeah, dude.
amazing. Like they draft well, and like I don't know if you know any young pieces on the Utah Jazz, but I surely don't.
Um
Like
no.
nothing comes to mind.
Not
Man.
any that
So
would even get minutes. So like
oh, exactly. So it just sucks. And they've tried, like, they definitely tried when they got Mike Conley, but that first year that he was in Utah, he was awful. He was so bad.
he was terrible.
a career low year in like every sorts of the way, and they just I don't know, they settle, man, but they settle for the same things. The fact that they even went out and got Hassan Whiteside as a backup center says a lot to me. Like you already have Rudy
They're also
Gobert, man,
tied to Mike Conley for 2 more years
which
at
is
22
tough.
million a year. So like any
That's the very
financial flexibility they had is shot.
done.
Yeah, it's gone. They have
Yep.
none. So like
No one's gonna
they're in a
want to.
horrible situation. I think they need to blow it to the moon, dude. Honestly, after these takes, I'm okay with trading Mitchell and Gobert. Like
You can get
their
a
hands
lot
are
out of
tied
that.
behind their back, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Who would you even trade them for though? Like truly, like who would buy in on Donovan Mitchell, and what would a team be able to actually give back something for Donovan Mitchell? Because as of right now, I can't think of anything. I don't know who would actually want to like give something back for him that's worth his value because Donovan Mitchell he's amazing, man. He's a great player. I don't know what you can get back for him. Who would
I
be
think
like
you would
your
get a
ideal
haul for him. I think ideally I think teams that are missing another scorer, like I've seen his name linked to Atlanta a bunch of times. Like I think
that
that would be a
defense would be splendid.
fire backcourt with him and Trey Young.
Offensively, yes, but defensively, dude,
Yeah,
you would
defensively they
need
would be in
to
trouble.
I've also seen Rudy Gobert linked to Atlanta too. That would be
Yeah,
nice. I would like that as well because that's the one thing that they do need is defense. But I feel like they would just fall into a similar trap.
but
Like literally,
I could also see Mitchell going in like a salary dump situation. Like New
true.
York Knicks, they could be players
Hmm.
send Randall, Fournier, Burks, and like 2 first-round picks. Yeah, I mean the trade
No,
packages
no,
aren't going to be pretty. When you
they're
when you
not.
get a
No,
very angry superstar, his value drops.
it does for sure. Yeah, and they just end up having to settle, which is unfortunate. But I mean, it's kind of you can kind of compare it to the fact where it's like we can say this right now, but we can also praise a guy like Daryl Morey, where
Yeah.
a lot of people were saying that they weren't going to get no value for James Harden. They're going to get Malcolm Brogdon and just all of like these role ass
Yeah, that's
players
true.
and decent players. But I really truly think that if it gets to that point, it can hold out and they can get something that's actually worth Donovan Mitchell's value. Just because I think that he's worth too much, and if you give him to a team like New York, you would want something big back in return. And
Yeah.
if you're Utah looking at New York, besides obviously New York's not going to trade RJ Barrett. They're
Yeah,
not going to do
definitely
anything
not.
like
No.
that. And you're looking at Julius Randle, who came off of MIP and then came off having one of his worst seasons ever. And then you're looking at that and you're like, well, what do we do with this?
I
So
think that I think that his market would be similar to Sabonis's, where like two young players,
True.
two young players
Yes,
and a pick.
right.
Like if you can get two young players and like some picks out of it, like that is a huge dub. Like you send them to Orlando for like Cole Anthony and Mo Bamba, like that is it is
That would
like a massive W for the Jazz.
that would be a massive W for the Jazz, but you got Donovan Mitchell in Orlando with like Franz Wagner, which
He's
Wagner
good.
is
He's good.
he's nice, but then that just kind of sets back Mitchell's timeline. And I don't know if Donovan has a no trade clause or
Yeah.
not. I would assume he does, so I think that he would get to have a say into where he does go,
Yeah, that's true.
or somewhat of a say. Since you mentioned the Kings, I think that'd be a pretty nasty duo. I know that the Kings are
De'Aaron
probably
Fox, Mitchell, and
De'Aaron and
Sabonis.
Mitchell. I mean, that's not bad. That's a big three right there. But you know, I don't know.
It is the Kings.
It is the
At the end of the
Kings.
day.
I feel bad for the Kings, man.
They're
I
horrible,
truly
dude.
do.
They traded Sabonis and had a worse win percentage with him. It's like I just that entire franchise needs to be revamped,
Yeah, relocated. Send him
relocated
over.
almost.